Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. I am Jeremy, also known as Erasmus, and we are going to be kicking off a brand new trilogy here on the channel. I am, however, not in the GM's chair, and that is because we have been brought here by the gracious ideas and talents of our GM, Baron, our DM, Baron, who I'm going to pass things over to in just a moment. But before I do, I wanted to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming in. I hope that you have as much fun as we do, as I know we're going to, playing this game. But I did want to go ahead and give the same warning that I give on the beginning of all of my games, and that is if foul language and what I'm sure is going to be a mature subject matter or problems for you, then this is probably not a good game for you to watch. So yeah, I'm going to pass things over now to Baron. Take it away.
Hello, I'm Baron. I somehow managed to sucker Jeremy into letting me run a game on his channel, and so far it has purely worked in my favor, as you can see. I sit here on the left side of the screen, and everyone else sits over there. Either way, I got the excellent experience of working with Jeremy to kind of set this project up, and this spectacular group of players alongside him that will allow us to bring you The Willow Weeps, a song of the Ards. But before we go any further, we can let everyone introduce themselves that hasn't yet. Anything they'd like to plug, if that's something they so choose. So we'll start with Jason, Karen, and Philip at the end.
Hello, everyone. I am Jason Osorio, and for this trilogy, I will be playing a tiefling warlock named Svedna Nazif, and I am very excited for this. Also, I gotta say, even though I said it in the chat before, that logo for the Erasmus Expedition channel is fucking beautiful. So cool to watch. But anyway, I will pass it on to Karen. Yeah, I'm super excited to be part of this, and thank you so much to Baron for having me, and thank you to Jeremy for hosting us.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I am Karen, otherwise known as Myth and Gears. Tonight, I get to play Sean Van Llewellyn. He's a elf Gloomstalker ranger. He is a haunted man with a troubled past, and he is desperately looking for a cure for his deepest, darkest secret. I'll pass it on to Philip.
Hello, I'm Philip, and I will be playing Guthrum Gladhammer, a dwarf barbarian who is a logger for the Blackthorn Logging Company. Thanks, Baron and Jeremy, for setting this up.
Did you want me to introduce my character? Baron?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, man. I'm super excited to be on the channel. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
you can find me over on the other channel stuff. No, I am playing Alasdair McKinsey, also a very haunted individual. His deep scars that he has from having served as a healer in the war. And I'm looking forward to playing a cleric again. I haven't done that in a long time, but playing kind of a character with this kind of a tragic back story with a kind of a dark cloud hanging over him. Those are my favorite kinds of characters. So looking forward to this, and thank you very much, Baron, for setting this up and coming to me with the idea and allowing me to play in it, no less. So I'm excited.
Well, without further ado, Episode 1, The Loggers of Fern. Music is the beat at which our world keeps pace. The breath of the wind a melody, the rustle of the leaves its chorus. The stars our great audience, and as our world turns, the sky above tracks the movement. Celestial forward into the records of time. Before us we see impossibly large blocks placed so close together that a hair couldn't fit between them. We see a great many of these blocks stacked high in formidable towers. We see these alabaster towers rising to touch the sky, which is a stark azure behind it, dappled with white clouds gently floating. Slender windows with beautiful depictions of love and war. And as the sky turns dark, the sun obscured, civilians look to the sky with concern and worry. Golden eyes look up to see something as their faces twist in anguish and the light is blotted out. We now see a man kind of packing a pipe with some tobacco. He looks gruff, kind of like a yellow, faded leather, weather-worn coat, kind of overtaking him, kind of like a blanket. He has black hair streaked with gray at the temples. Crow's feet would be an understatement. These are more of a vulture's feet situation. He kind of props himself 1 foot on like a railing behind him. You see that you're outside of an inn known as the Rowdy Logger. He kind of spits and places the pipe in his mouth. He begins again. Our many songs are our history. We sing of our hardships, our joys, tragedies, and triumphs. We sing of great heroes and foul villains. Our ballads tell of evil snuffing out the torches of hope. And we sing of mighty creatures bested and outwitted by clever champions. We cry in memory of the songs that have ended and whose creators no longer ride with us. The clash of swords, the great crescendo, the cries of dying men, its lyrics. Once again, we see kind of like a broader landscape. We see many little fires with shadows lurched over them for warmth and protection. The plains are littered with these tiny motes of light, almost like the night sky above. Little starlights, each with a story so vivid and rich to tell. It's the oldest songs that sing that we are made of those very motes high above the world. It's back to this man again. He kind of like accentuates every period of his kind of monologue with the end of his pipe. This clearly rehearsed. Nonetheless, he holds the kind of exterior of the tavern's attention as he speaks clearly and loudly. The tales known to the heralds across the land. A match stricken off the hard leather of his boot ignites the hash and tobacco, and he takes a long drag. And that is where we find Svedna. It is about 2, maybe 3 p.m. You are not far from this man telling this exaggerative story with expletives and kind of gestures to go along with it. You are kind of just now getting to see Greater Fernwood having arrived today. You see around you the kind of comings and goings of the town. You see a large building which is behind this man. There is a depiction of like a crude looking lumberjack, kind of like with a vulgar display of a log in front of his crotch. You see beyond that there is the Blackthorn Brothers kind of like office in regards to the lumber mill which sits behind it on the river. You see the temple, kind of a little bit more modest, kitty corner to everything across from the inn, and it is almost reminiscent of the large alabaster stones from the man's story. These are like very large blocks of granite fit very tightly together to make this very stoic but reserved, almost conservative temple. Outside we see an elvish woman whose gold eyes kind of like reflect light, almost like a cat's. But by all means, she is beautiful. She kind of deposits her bags of whatever they may be with an attendant at the temple who walks inside, and she kind of looks about and walks towards the woods. You see this man who's telling this story as kind of people shift now. He's standing on a large oblong thing. It almost looks like a mass of matted hair, bone, and maybe worked leather. Yeah, there's quite a bit going on around you. You also see that the inn, this is more of the tavern area, the inn across from you is there's like a large lunar disc shape, you would guess is a moon, as there is the full moon inn. You can kind of describe Svedna, what we see as she moves through town.
Yeah, I think so. Remind me, this gentleman, this storyteller, was he inside like the common area of a tavern, or was he kind of outside?
He's more in like the courtyard area. It's still earlier in the day, so and it's not. It's I would say an early fall afternoon, so the temperatures are still kind of nice to exist outside until it gets the darker and the sun is going down. So kind of using up his time here in the courtyard, almost kind of like in the city square.
Okay. Yeah, so I think as the story is kind of ending, Svedna is probably the person who's like applauding the loudest, probably a little bit like too much, just like she was so enthralled by this story. She loves stories of heroes and people triumphing using their wits as well as their brawn. She is a young tiefling woman, probably in her mid-20s, maybe about 5.5 feet tall, with just bright crimson red skin, which I imagine makes her stand out quite a bit from the common folk, the regular folk of Fernwood. Even the irises of her eyes are red, and the horns that kind of curl back over and up on her scalp, those are also crimson in color. Otherwise, like short, dark hair. Definitely the attire of a wanderer or an adventurer, mercenary, perhaps. But yeah, she's just enthralled. She seems so excited to be here. I think she would actually, and I don't know if this individual would take offense to this, but I don't think she particularly cares. She would look for like, an overturned hat or some kind of bowl so that she could deposit a coin or two in there as a sort of a recompense for his tale. You're muted, I think, Baron. Classic.
There would be like a small case. You'd recognize it as one of like the heralds. He clearly kind of bears the badge of those who kind of travel the land and are known to be wise in the baronies and who's in charge of where and the goings on and et cetera, et cetera. And they all have like these cases that you tip them if you so choose.
Okay. Yeah, so I think she her garments aren't especially fine. They're definitely travel worn and probably heavily patched in places, but she would reach into maybe a pouch or something hanging from her belt, and she'd put an entire gold piece into this man's little bowl, essentially, or cup, and she would smile up at him and say, that was a fantastic story. It was so, just the way that you paint the pictures with words, very, very impressive. And she'll kind of look around a little bit. Are you familiar with the goings on? Maybe not here in Fernwood, but maybe further out, maybe in Greenhaven. Have you traveled to Greenhaven recently?
He kind of looks at you, kind of like closing one eye. Thank you. Every tip is appreciated for the stories we tell.
Of course.
And I've been to Greenhaven. Was there not too long ago. What do you seek to know?
Well, it's not like, a big secret or anything, but I was just curious. She'll kind of, even though she's saying it's not a secret, she'll kind of lean in, mostly just because of like a general lack of self-awareness, among other things. And she'll ask him, "Have you heard anything about maybe unusual happenings at the arcane crystal mines there? I was actually in the area for a few reasons, but that was one of them. I wanted to see the mines, and I was wondering if maybe you'd heard anything about them recently, maybe."
Well, you gotta understand when you start the description of the place you're trying to go to as the Arcane Crystal Mines,
Hmm.
it's safe to assume there's gonna be some wacky goings on.
Fair.
I've heard that the crystals themselves offer a great boon to those of the magical intent. I myself tend to stay away from those arts, if you understand my meaning. Seems like those who dabble in things they shouldn't find presence in places they don't want them.
I suppose. But you have a magic of your own, really. You have the magic of your wordplay, of storytelling. I mean, that's very impressive. Maybe some crystals could uh I don't know, make it more eye-catching. I don't know if I imagine they sell the crystals. How else would they make money off the crystals?
I feel like using the crystals to do something of that nature really cheapens the craft, really takes away from all the hard work that I put into what I do.
She kind of like squints a little at that, not quite agreeing, but she takes his point and she'll say, "All right, I guess. So you haven't heard anything especially unusual. I understand what you mean. Magic causes strange things to happen sometimes, but nothing particularly strange that stuck out to you, maybe? Strange
Well,
creatures?
roll a persuasion check.
I shall. First roll of the night. Here we go. That's not terrible. That's an 11 plus 3 for a 14.
I split out of Greenhaven because I noticed everyone was a little testy, a little bit
Ooh.
more frustrated about things. And to be honest, I don't have time for that.
Right. Any particular reason why they were testy, or is it just general testiness?
Couldn't tell you. Didn't
Hmm.
stay in town long enough to find out.
All right. Well, I appreciate your help. And one other thing, I'm somewhat new to this area. Is there a temple of Halif the Hunter in Fernwood, or no? I see that temple over there. Just kind of point to that the temple that you had mentioned previously. But I don't know if there's like a specific denominational symbol on it or anything like that.
So that more or less would encompass the greater kind of like Osla pagan religion.
Hmm.
You're referring to a deity within the Iron Ring.
Yes.
There would not be. You
Okay.
cannot outwardly see any temple
Hmm.
dedicated to that faith.
Okay, so yeah, then I think she would again kind of just ask, do you know, is there a temple to any of the Iron Ring deities, maybe in Greenhaven?
Unfortunately, lass, I don't think that belief has taken off here. He
Hmm.
kind of like winks. Not yet.
Are you a believer, as they say?
I'm more of an observer.
That makes sense. They say that's where the best stories come from. You watch and you listen, and you find good fodder for stories or something like that. My father made some saying or told me some saying about that. His saying was a lot better than. Anyway, I should go. Thank you so much again for the story and the information.
But of course, be
Right.
safe now.
I will, and she will turn, and I think she's gonna head towards the temple. Actually, the pagan
you
temple.
move towards the temple,
Mhm.
and it almost catches you like mid-step in an immense queasiness and lightheaded, which I believe you've probably felt before as your companion kind of invokes a memory, not necessarily your own, into your field of vision. So tell me, as we see something from the past, something of a sepia tone, because that's how they do it in TV,
Classic.
where we see Selleck, your father.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, so I think, like you said, Svedna she stops when she feels the familiar queasiness of one of Vazikil's visions coming on. And um I think her eyes almost roll back into her head, so it's just the whites of her eyes that are visible. And there is maybe on her left palm or something, there's almost this like swirl of like little crystalline growths that start to emerge, not so much that they are noticeable by people walking by. Honestly, the eyes rolling back into the head would probably be more noticeable than this, but just this slight kind of growth of crystals on her palm. And I think she would actually see Selleck, her father, again, an older tiefling man, though he was, um, a bit younger at the time. I think she would see him walking beside an unfamiliar elvish individual, an elvish man, and they were talking. There seems to be a look of consternation on his face, but they're talking as they're maybe moving through a logging encampment, or maybe even on the outskirts of one closer to the forest. Um, and then this elvish individual um, seems to almost fade into the forest, like just blown away by a gust of errant wind, moving with the grace of a ranger or a hunter of some kind. And she sees her father's shoulders, normally so proud, with him being a tiefling hero. She would see his shoulders slump, and then he just nods to himself once and then turns and begins to walk away as that sepia tone kind of washes everything out, and she comes back to herself, the queasiness passing in fits and starts.
And you move towards the temple.
Mhm.
You kind of pass beside the rowdy logger, and as you move towards the stone structure across the way, we kind of stay here, and kind of drift through the doorway, where we see it's dark. It's kind of that classic, like it's a stone structure with a thatched roof, and even though it's the middle of the day, the fucking air is stagnant because the windows are 8 inches across. Everyone's smoking, and it's like this chimney doesn't work probably correctly the way it's supposed to, so it's just a dank place. We see Alistair and Guthrum within, sitting with Rake and Mercy. You occupy a table, kind of in the back center, where there's kind of like, you are one of the farthest center tables away from the door. Not uncommon for you guys to come in here where it's exceptionally dark to converse. Usually, Alistair, it's you meeting with Mercy. Guthrum occasionally tagging along, but lately it seems like Rake has been the unwanted guest meeting with y'all. And so I says, why not just hang them all out to dry? They're expendable. Useless foot soldiers.
Like the 10th time today, Alistair grinds his teeth, so much so that it causes like an ache in his jaw to start to flare up as he tries his best to not respond in a way that would likely get him in trouble.
I gotta say, guys, when Mercy here said that she was coming out to meet you, I knew I just had to tag along again. We're a real crew, you know. Really get to reminisce about all the good times, the boys, you know. And he kind of like punches Mercy, kind of like smacks Guthrum in the chest, kind of like a little bit more aggressively than you probably might like. And it does seem like you guys are always so damn jumpy when we're all together.
Well, some of us have lived through hard times, my lord. I'm gonna get more drinks. Anyone else interested? Alistair
Mercy
kind of gets up from the
Mercy
table,
immediately
himself.
is like, please.
Guthrum takes a drink from his beer and will say, "Yeah, I'll take some this, although it's a little more bitter than usual."
Maybe something stronger. He like claps his hand on Guthrum's shoulder with meaning.
Yes, please.
And Alistair kind of makes his way
And
up from
yeah,
the stool, like, and it takes some effort. His knees take a little longer to engage than they used to. He kind of stiffens up his back and like stretches his shoulders back, and there's audible popping. And he kind of works his elbows out and makes his way over to the bar.
Guthrum will turn to Rake. You know, Rake, if you go around screwing over everyone that you deal with, eventually there will be no one left to deal with.
Well, that's why I intend to keep my loyal friends beside me. He like puts his arm around Mercy. And he kind of like, oh yeah, that reminds me. He kind of like digs into his pouch, pulls out. You recognize like a contract. I was told to give you this to deliver to your family for me. I'm sure you can figure that out, right?
Yeah, Guthrum glances at the seal and recognizes, I'm sure, that it's official. Doesn't want to open it here and will put it in his coat chest pocket.
Alistair, you're able to get the few drinks and return. You see Rake is kind of like standing, and that's probably what's prompting you to return, as he looks like he's getting ready to get up and go after he's handed Guthrum this. And he kind of is like, he had to pull some things out to get to this missive, and as you approach, you see the last thing on the table is a health potion. He kind of twirls it with his finger a little bit. I was just telling everyone, Alistair. Aranthea is being a real pain in the ass, and I'm having to hear it from Blackthorn and the higher-ups. I'm tired of it. Have your few drinks, catch up, and then your guys are going to go talk to Aranthea, and you're going to let her know that wherever the Blackthorns want to cut trees, she's going to condone it. You understand?
You see, my lord, you seem to be somewhat confused. I don't work for you anymore. I work for the church.
He slides the potion across the table to you. I think you can figure it out.
He puts his hand kind of over the potion. For a moment, he thinks about reaching for the handle of the mace at his belt. That isn't there. He realizes he's in his vestments. That was another era in his life. And he just sighs and slides the vial off of the table and tucks it into his vestment robes Yes, my lord, of course.
And he turns and walks away. Mercy kind of like rubbing her brow. I'm sorry, he keeps tagging along. He's been up my ass for the last couple of weeks. I considered not even coming at all, but I had no way of telling you, and I didn't want you to think I was blowing him off.
It's so surprising to me that no one has killed him yet.
Kind of hoping that he just does it himself at some point, accidentally. I don't know.
What is this? What is this all about? What is he talking about?
It seems as if the king requires more lumber. I hear he's building ships. I'm not entirely sure. But with increased demand and the government contracts that the Blackthorns divvied up when we came out to the Rotwood, all the sanctions put in place by the Druids are kind of being stepped upon, and there's no real body to do anything about it.
They made an arrangement with Aranthea, did they not?
They did.
Then she's every right to be pissed.
Unfortunately, they don't care.
What are we supposed to do about it? Force her to comply?
If that's what it comes down to.
They want us to murder her.
They won't say it, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind if she was gone.
I can't do it. That's no longer who I am.
I know, and I don't want to ask you to do it either, but can you just go talk to her? I don't want to see her dead. I like Erin.
Yes, perhaps we can talk her down, Alistair. Maybe she's reasonable, especially if I'll kind of like finger the blade of my axe. Especially if, she has the right motivation. She'll have to see it's a losing battle eventually, just like it is for all of us. We'll all be owned or run by the Blackthorns, and Aranthea is no different.
It's just a couple of trees.
You can tell that to Aranthea.
I have to go. You see she stands, and we kind of catch her face in the light now. We kind of skipped over what you guys look like there in the beginning. But Mercy is a almost lavender skinned tiefling. Her hair is like a gray, kind of upkept in a conservative bun. Her horns kind of goat-like curl back and around a few times. Her eyes glow almost like a yellow green. They've been visible through this entire conversation, like quite clearly, even in the dank darkness of this room. And as she stands, we kind of also see Alistair, if you want to describe what you look like.
Yeah, Alistair is this side of middle-aged human man. Much like the storyteller, he has seen more than his fair share of winters, and it plays on his face. At the eyes of his, the corners of his eyes, and the temples of his hair. His beard is shot through with gray, and he has a lot of sadness in him, in his eyes, in the way he holds himself. It's very obvious to anybody who looks at this individual that he's seen some shit, and that it weighs pretty heavily on him. But there's also a calmness about him. His melancholy is is solitary. He doesn't seem to spread it out amongst the people that are around him much. He's wearing vestments dedicated to the god
Anek.
Ankh. It's not Ankh. What is it?
Anek.
Anek. That's what it is. Anek. Yeah, to the god Anek. And I imagine the clothes, the vestments themselves are probably gray and maybe like a deep maroon in coloration, something that is kind of dull and not overly flashy, but they're very well made and very well maintained. So whenever Mercy gets up, he kind of and he taps the table right next to the expensive drinks that he just ordered for himself and Guthrum. Don't forget, it's your time to pay.
She smirks and slides a bag of coins across the table to you. Take care of that for me. You grab the bag of coins and kind of watch her leave, and as she passes away, the seat behind her, the booth, is no longer vacant. Behind her seat, clearly men and women of the Crown's army, in like full regalia. There's a bannerman. You see a few knights, foot soldiers, and as the kind of picture in front of you clarifies, you see they are all in horrific states of decay. Massive, just ruinous holes, kind of like empty beneath chest armor. We see a soldier missing half of his face as he kind of turns, and they all kind of sit there and slowly turn to look at you. And sitting at the end of the table, there is what appears to be a woman who, as she turns around, you notice her orcish features, and it is immediately a face that you recognize. We see the burned, kind of stripped of hair side of her face, and like the flesh ripped from the skull, kind of revealing like half of a face of Daraba and the other half that of a corpse. She looks at you with vacant eyes, almost as if she intends to say something. And then just as you kind of lean in to hear what she says, Guthrum kind of bumps you and grabs the coins, kind of like tosses them up in the air. You look and immediately look back, and they're gone.
Come on, Alistair, this'll keep us going for just a little while longer.
To those that can't. He raises his glass. And downs it. Drinking way more than he should, probably at once.
Do you guys stay? Do you have places you are going? I mean, and obviously you have a missive to go to Aranthea, but
is there a temple to Anek here in town? Or is he one of the...
So it would be that stone structure is kind of like an all faiths
Perfect.
temple and dedication to the traditional kind of totemic.
Okay. Then that's probably where Alistair lives and kind of works, I would imagine. He kind of lives the life of like an acolyte now. He's very much like tries to fulfill his duties as a priest, and has removed himself from as much of everyday normal life that he walked away from as possible. Mercy is in Guthrum are probably like the rare exception that he makes in his life to to go outside of the walls of the temple. So that's probably where he's headed back to.
Well, if you're going to go pray, then maybe we just got paid here. Let's use this hospitality for perhaps another one. Alistair?
I think that sounds fine. Extra praying.
Absolutely.
Just keep that tithe close.
We see like more drinks arrive, and we kind of fade out from the dank bar area of the Rowdy Logger. And it kind of pans backwards into the trees, where we've seen Aranthea walk. It's not a far trek into the woods. We see like a smattering of birch and rowan and oak trees, maple trees, a healthy variety. But then we get into like an open area that is filled mostly with ferns. On the far side, there is a large willow tree that overlooks a pond. We see two individuals. We see Aranthea, adorned in her kind of traditional green and gold vestments, noting her kind of high priestess of the druid stature, but also she wears the regalia of an iconography of someone who is, well, this is how, why am I blanking on the words? She is also a high priestess of the goddess of life and fertility within the traditional religion here. She wears simple gold bands on her fingers, and her eyes lack pupils and are just golden discs. Her hair is a kind of like a mixture of almost like a brass like brown, and a coppery orange red. Very metallic looking, but kind of let loose in wavy locks behind her. Across from her, we see Sean.
So this man is almost her counterpoint, where she's golden and light. He is muted and dark. He wears dark greens and browns, very practical clothing, covered in leathers to protect himself. His eyes are black with this ring of white around the pupil. If you were to look into them, they are disturbing at best, as you feel like there's something that causes you to kind of almost like fall deep dark, like there's some abyss behind these eyes as he's looking at you. His long black brown hair is kind of pulled back into this messy bun, faux bun, if you will. And he's got this condescending look on his face as he's looking down at this woman.
She moves closer to you, and kind of like lightly reaches for your hand, the tips of her fingers lightly brushing yours.
The contact is made, and there's seconds before he pulls away, almost abruptly.
I'm sorry.
Why do you pander so to them?
I don't know what choice you think I have. They'll kill us.
Better to die for our beliefs than to let them run rampant over this land.
They will run rampant over this land no matter what.
We have to stop them.
You and what army?
We'll have to be enough.
We
Our
are not.
army.
There is no army. You
They're
have been
men.
to the Fairlands. There is no one.
And you give up.
I have not given up. I just seek to do what I can.
I thought you had more strength than you. Yet
And where are you?
just
You run into the woods at the first sign of conflict.
I'd run towards conflict.
Not with me.
You're so stubborn. You're so naive. Where did you think this was going to go? Why did you even agree? I warned you. I warned you this would happen. That man has nothing in him of a moral compass whatsoever. He's going to use you. He's going to just... Oh,
You're not telling me anything that I don't already know.
then why did you agree?
To preserve what I could of
Oh,
the
it's
grove.
working so well, isn't it? They're tearing it down.
It would all be gone already if I hadn't done something.
We'll do more.
What can I do?
Fight back.
They're coming
Don't
for more
give in.
trees. And what
Oh.
would you have me do? Stand in front of them?
Yes, if that's what it need be.
I am one woman to an entire legion of loggers.
There's got to be someone. Not everyone's got to be like this. You must have friends in your circle. They can help you. Call them.
Sniapen, you know my friends, and they're gone now. It all fell apart. We were put on a back foot, and now everyone is focused on surviving themselves. And you can't blame them. We all just want to live. We all just want it to work out. That's one of the flaws of our people. We just hope it's going to turn out all right.
Hope is a trap.
I just don't have time to listen to you say this anymore.
Fine.
They're coming either way. Either way, they will come and they will cut down the trees. There is a darkness in this land. I don't know if you know it or not, but it's only a matter of time.
At the mention of the darkness in this land, it's almost like a dagger kind of hit him. It's not what she meant, but it still hits him. And this pained look crosses his face before he quickly turns and starts to walk from her.
Where are you going to go? Running away again?
I'm going to do something.
She kind of like slumps. I'm sorry, come back.
There's a slowing of his steps before you can see his spine just kind of straighten, and he continues to walk.
Where are you walking? Into the woods or towards town?
I don't think he knows, actually. So he's just walking away. He's thinking he's walking into the woods, but
well, for the sake of getting everybody together,
yeah, it's
I think you're walking
not.
to town.
Yeah.
We see. Can you pronounce your name again? I'm going to call you Sean, but I just want to know.
Shaunavan. Yeah.
Shaunavan. We see Shaunavan storm into the trees, not really paying attention, leaving Aranthea behind. We see the refraction of light from a distance and like a small drip as a tear rolls from her cheek to the ground. It's around this time we find ourselves back in the city square. As Alistair and Guthrum, your eyes adjust, leaving the tavern. and walking across the village green, the city green here, to the temple of the All Faith. And I would say, for the sake of great convenience, it's around this time that Svedna is walking that way as well. Alistair and Guthrum, I need you guys to roll perception checks.
Six.
I got a 13 plus.
Drink a little too much.
I got a 17 on perception.
Alistair, you are walking, and this woman, walking a similar path, or rather a different path to a similar location, is kind of strutting towards the temple. It's the gate that you are familiar with. Someone from your past walked with the kind of confidence of interest, not naivety, of curiosity.
And I've been in Fernwood for a while, I imagine.
Yeah, the greater region, yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, you probably get sent off on, like, a child was born in the small village not far from here. You need to go check it out, stuff like that. But
okay. And this person is new to me? Like,
Svedna, I believe this is your first time to Fernwood, is it not?
Yeah, I think she's been in the Rotwood before, but it's been very infrequent, usually to speak with Finn. So yeah, I think this is probably one of her first times in Fernwood.
so I think there's a moment where Alistair is kind of blinking, maybe even like rubbing at the corners of his eyes a little, trying to clarify his vision as much as possible. Did Guthrum also know Svedna's father, or was it just me?
Guthrum would have known Selleck, but
Selleck, that's his name.
he's unable to put two and two together as
Right.
He's leaving the bar right now.
So I think Alistair will like drive his elbow, meaning to kind of drive them into Guthrum's ribs, but Guthrum being a dwarf, maybe just a little too high, and like kind of catches him in the shoulder,
right in the
his
ear.
Yeah, boom, ring. No, does that tiefling remind you of anyone? Look at the way that she's walking.
The way that she's walking. No, not. I can't. Not from what I can tell.
You didn't see her face. She looks very familiar. Have I put two and two together as like reminds me of Selleck, or just it's familiar? You're muted.
Perhaps a little of both. And for the sake of it, it's not that he walked like a woman, or
Just
Svedna
messing
walks
with you,
like a
Baron.
man.
I was also
There's an
thinking,
era of confidence.
I was also thinking too, like I imagine like winged tieflings aren't super common. I think Selleck was one, and Svedna is one as well. She has like these like large kind of red bat wings, kind of
It might even
protruding through
be-
slits in the back of her armor.
It might even be like something about the way that they move their tail or something. You know,
Yeah,
that's just,
yeah,
you
or even
know-
like some of her equipment. You know, it might have been
Ooh,
inherited.
there you go.
You know, yeah.
Okay.
There's a cloak that you recognize almost outright now that you're looking.
It's more patches than cloak, but yeah, definitely something that Selleck probably would have worn.
It was patches then.
Isn't that Selleck's cloak?
Selleck.
That thing that he kept with him all the time. He was ratty even then.
Yeah, no way that thing is still around. Didn't he die?
Well, the cloak didn't.
Right. But who would go around wearing his cloak?
Might be worth asking.
Svedna, what is it like as Vazakill gets your attention or apparates itself in some way for you?
I think it's almost the visions are brought on by kind of the queasiness, but I think a lot of it is also like musical tones. It's a lot of like emotion and images and sounds. It's not really a lot of direct communication. So I think maybe, Guthrum and Alistair are kind of like behind her and to the right as they're moving towards this temple. There's like these like chimes almost, like the sound of stone impacting crystal, kind of like just these three-tone chimes in her right ear, and she kind of looks back and sees this human and this intoxicated dwarf kind of talking and eyeing her cloak. And I think immediately, no hesitation, she just turns around and starts walking towards them. Can I help you with something? You're looking at my cloak. It's a nice cloak, I know, but I mean, your cloaks are probably a little nicer,
I think you are met with like an overwhelming sense of familiarity and like kinship and like, you got something to say, but why? You feel. I'm actually going to say roll a wisdom saving throw.
Ew. Let's see. Not great at those. Oof, that was almost really good, and then it wasn't. That's 2. Big 2.
You actually even go so far as to like almost hold your arms out for a hug for this person. Then you kind of like catch yourself and like bring your arms down.
I think Svenna probably rolls with it, honestly. She'll just like walk up to Alistair and just be like, hey, I don't know what we're doing. And then she'll kind of try to embrace you, with no idea who you are, who this dwarf is next to you. But she's just rolling with it.
Yeah, he kind
that's definitely related to Selleck somehow.
He met Alistair, like manages to get like one hand like up in between the two of you, like before you like close, and so now it's kind of like pinned. Have we met before?
Listen, this is going to sound a little weird, so don't like freak out or anything. But so I have this like crystalline being that provides me with my magical powers, and for some reason it wanted to draw my attention toward you, and then I felt very like I know you two. I don't know you two though. I don't recognize either of you. No offense, maybe we met in passing or something, and I just can't remember your names. I'm Svedna Nazif, and you two are who?
Now, is the name Nazif? Was that also Selleck's name? Yeah. Alistair nods. Then you are related to Selleck.
Yes, my father, the hero, the great Selleck Nazif. Yes. He
There's an exchanged look between Alistair and Guthrum.
What?
No, yes, the great hero.
Yes, and you get your powers from magical crystals.
Yes, it's like this crystalline being called Vazakill, the Red Remnant. I think my father used to wield it, and then and I think probably for like the first time in this brief interaction, you see the smile falter a little bit. When my father passed last year, I inherited Vazakill. So here I am trying to figure out what's going on. There's a lot of things I'm trying to figure out, but that's not important right now. Who are you two? What are your names?
I will say both of you recognize what he's talking about or what she is talking about immediately from Selleck and his abilities.
Well, I'm Guthrum, and this is Alistair, and Svedna. We work very closely with your father, and we want to also work with you. And I'll look towards Alistair and, touch my nose and say, we've got just the first job for you. We have to go and clear out some meddlesome cultists, and we will give you 1 gold piece to help us.
Well, so like what sort of cultists are they though? Are they like evil cultists or just neutral cultists?
Meddlesome.
Meddlesome. So that's bad, right? 'Cause they're like meddling, sticking their fingers into pies they shouldn't.
Yes, bad for business.
All right, I can maybe get behind that, but listen, I actually have, I have so many questions. I need to talk to. There's a lot of people I need to talk to. I need to talk to Aranthia, and then I'm trying to. Maybe you two know about this. My father, he was, and you can see she's putting all these pieces together, very excited, just in full flow of kind of what she's trying to accomplish here. These great quests that she's on. My father was investigating some kind of a potion smuggling ring or something before he passed, and but he never.
Whoa,
What
listen,
what's
yeah,
going on?
we can
But yeah.
look.
Mhm.
We'll explain all about it, right, Alistair?
Oh, so you know about the potion smuggling?
As
I know it
this
was a while
interaction
ago.
is going on, we see Shonovan look up, and he's almost immediately beside you all. Almost reminiscent of a scene he's feeling a sense of deja vu, walking into something.
Look over at Shonovan and kind of like try to cover the mouth of Svedna.
I think Svedna at first she's confused, like why are you trying to cover her mouth? And then she follows your eye line, sees the elf, immediately recognizes the elf from the vision she just had a few minutes ago, and she just starts pointing. She's like, "It's you! Hold on, Guthrum. It's you. You're the elf. I saw you in my."
Put your hand down.
Alistair is like moving like a few children from the village, kind of like scurrying them on, like, you know, encouraging them to go play further down the road.
Donovan just comes to like an abrupt stop when he realizes that he's gone the complete wrong direction and ends up here. First thing out of his mouth as he sees the three. He recognizes two of them, I believe. Doesn't recognize the other, but just says, "Shh."
Oh, are you, is this all like a secret kind of thing? I didn't mean to, like, you know, what is it? Expose you. I have not exposed any of you, have I? It was not my intention to expose any of you, really. Um, do you, wait, do you know them? Do you know Guthrum and what was your name again? Older man? Sorry, I don't think I got your name.
Alistair.
Alice there. Do you know Guthrum and Alice there? I'm Svedna, by the way. Who are you?
No one of importance.
Here we go.
No one of importance.
It's the first time I've heard you say that.
So you do know each other. That's, you see, there's banter going on here. There's banter happening.
Shonovan just looks at Guthrum, just stares right at him.
This is Shonovan.
Shonovan.
Hi, elf, Shonovan.
One eyebrow raises.
Wow, that was a lot.
Guthrum is well into his cups. You'll have to forgive him.
I can
You
tell.
don't have to do nothing of the sort. He's always high in his cups.
But you're Sean. I think my father told me about you. You knew my father, Selik Nazif, right? You and him. I think he said, what did he say? He said, if you need someone that knows the Rotwood better than anyone else, look for Shonovan, and that's you, right?
Alistair looks at Shonovan kind of apologetic, like he hasn't even had time to process what the fuck is going on right now, much less time to explain it to you.
Shonovan just kind of nods at Svedna.
That's great. This is great. So, wait. So where were you two going? I was going to the temple because I need to talk to I think her name is Aranthia. There's something happening with my crystal creature, and I think she'll actually hold up her palm, and you'll see kind of that familiar swirl of crimson crystals kind of like protrude from the red flesh of her palm before it sort of recedes in a manner very similar to what you've seen Selik do in the past.
I think there's like maybe even like a very small unseen moment where Alistair kind of reaches up and tucks like a crimson crystal of his own down kind of into his vestments.
You'll not find Arenthia in the temple.
Oh, do you know where? Oh, of course you know where. Where is she?
He just kind of does the motion behind him. I'll take you.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. It's been really weird, to be honest. Like Vazikil keeps sending me like these visions of her, and there's like these feelings of like, well, and you know all about the feelings and the visions and everything. It's like dread, like fear, like something bad is going to happen, and then there's anger about, and then she'll kind of lower her voice. The arcane crystal mines under Greenhaven. Maybe I don't really know what's going on. I'm hoping Arenthia can maybe provide me with some guidance. But now these two are telling me, Sean, that there are like meddlesome cultists that have to be taken care of because they're being meddlesome. Do you know about these meddlesome cultists?
Donovan gives Alistair a look, like a questioning look. Like,
he again kind of gestures to Guthrum with like an apology almost. I think what Guthrum was getting at was the individuals who were involved with the Blackthorn brothers and everything of that matter. I don't think anybody told us it was a cult, Guthrum.
Well, look, first things first, Svedna. No one knows the Rotwood better than me. All right. Second off,
Okay.
the cult Aranthea is the leader of these cultists. They're mucking up business for the Blackthorns, and we need to get them out of here.
Druids are not cultists.
They're cultists. They dabble in dark magic, transfiguring people, and
trees. They worship trees.
I mean, that could be kind of meddlesome, but why would Vazikil be showing me visions of Arenthia to stop her, maybe? And I think she'll actually kind of like look at the crystal swirl in her palm and try to like connect with Vazikil to see if she can get like any kind of emotional response or a vision in this moment to kind of clarify this, because she is very confused.
Roll insight.
I shall. I want you to know I have a -1 to intelligence and a -2 to wisdom, because
Excellent.
I rolled very poorly for those stats, but it's great. That's a 4.
You're just confused.
I mean, Sean, you know where Arenthia is? Is she being a meddlesome cultist? Is that what's happening right now?
As the group of you are kind of looking around, because Svedna's looking for Arenthia, you see a group of loggers going into the woods. Sean, this is triggering.
oh, I am so beyond triggered at
I am
this
so
moment.
triggered.
My hand has been on my sword. My teeth are grinding. I am staring
listen, Sean,
upstairs at
why don't
Guthrum.
you just take us to Aranthea? We'll deliver our message, and we will. You guys, you and Aranthea and Svedna can go to these crystal mines and leave the grove for Blackthorn, and everyone can live out their lives happily ever after.
Oh, you can take a message to your master Blackthorn, if you will. You are not coming near the groves.
Listen, we just need to deliver
I
the message
mean
to
it,
Aranthea.
Guthrum.
Look, you're not going to be able to stop it. No one's going to be able to stop it. It's a courtesy that we're letting Aranthea know. Consider this a nice, friendly warning.
I'm just going to punch him. Can I just punch him, please?
Oh.
Please.
Roll an attack.
Oh.
Inter-party conflict. Inter-party conflict.
We're only like an hour in.
Let's do it.
It's a good thing I'm not really a fist fighter, but that's an 18 to hit.
That hits.
All right, Guthrum, you take 1 point of damage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So are you all not friends then? You know each other, but you're not friends. Is that I mean, you just punched him in the face. So that's sort of the impression that I'm getting. Is that right?
Alistair wants to try to get in front of Guthrum to kind of like put his hands on his shoulders to try to de-escalate the situation before it boils over, if at all possible.
I mean, yeah, you absolutely can stand betwixt them.
Well, wait. There's no reason for it to go like this. Guthrum, you are out of line. Just Donovan, we have no choice. We have to go speak to Arenthia. We have to go talk to her. We have to let her know what's happening. And we have to...
She'll see reason and call you down, Shonovan.
He kind of gives a little bit of a look over his shoulder at Guthrum, like, you're not helping, fucker.
I imagine you have to kind of almost brace Shonovan as he goes to hit again.
He's drunk. I know it's not an excuse, but... Listen, we need to speak to her. It's important. If you're not willing to show us, it's fine. I know how to get there myself. And it may not be best for you and Guthrum to be around one another. Just right this moment.
Before you're able to kind of quell this fighting, you see a man walking over to you. He's grizzled gray hair. One of his eyes, you see like the socket's kind of damaged and it's a milky white. He holds a sword at his belt, the kind of faded garb of the guard. Everything all right over here, Alistair?
It's everything is fine. It's just a misunderstanding. Just a misunderstanding, Jonas.
Are you sure? Sean, you're not causing any trouble?
No, I'm not causing any trouble. I'm just leaving. And he grabs Svedna's arm and starts to stalk off into the woods.
Oh, it was nice to meet you too. Bye. She'll follow Sean into the woods.
You catch like the side eye from Janus Alistair and kind of like him nodding for you to go with them.
He kind of nods and exhales resolutely before he kind of like nudges Guthrum. What's wrong with you? Honestly.
Just trying to make an honest living. We're not paying Svedna either.
How can you say that in the same sentence as you use the word honesty?
Well, she's no longer on our mission. She's on her own. That one ain't paying nothing.
Used to be a lot more fun to drink with.
Yeah. Used to be a lot more things.
There's definitely no response to that. Alistair feels that in his bones.
You can definitely see, as Guthrum gives you a look and his eyes kind of just soften around the edges as he kind of remembers, yeah, maybe I wasn't quite always so bitter in life about everything.
There is a moment as you all turn to walk away, and as the camera pans back, it's almost like a scene transition, almost to that sepia tone, where the three of you, much younger, though some of you might not look too much different. There is a moment where you all almost got caught. Potions in hand, weapons in tow, all contraband. What happened? I'll let each of you kind of throw in a detail. We can start with Guthrum.
So we know that with the war going on, there's a lot of potions and weapons that are being manufactured and transported. And I definitely have access to a lot of these potions and weapons as my clan fulfills the orders for these.
So I would say we're probably like in a deal. Where, Guthrum, would these deals take place? Where do you think? You can make up a location, whether in the woods or in town or whatever.
Yeah, I think that um, it's definitely in the woods somewhere. Meeting, in an old hunting lodge or something. Oh, a boat on the river. There we go. That's definite. I like that.
Doesn't the Ard run through here somewhere? Is that the
Yep.
name of the river?
Yep. The Ard
Yeah.
River is a major body here.
Yeah, so miles up, there's a small creek that runs into the Ard, and we've got a storehouse with the boat, right?
The storehouse, to be usually occupied by a druid, a woman who, Guthrum, you've been friends with for a long time. Can you describe, where is she? What Estina looks like?
Yeah, so Christina is she is a fawn, I guess. And she is part of the Circle of the Willows. She has brown fur and usually is covered with, gray cloak, walks around collecting herbs, plays wonderful panpipes, enchanting music, and I have frequently listened to her music while out hunting rabbits and eventually befriended her. And she is a great location. Her hut is a great location for our storehouse. She collects most of the herbs and ingredients to manufacture these healing potions. So it's already a spot where I knew it's isolated and she can be trusted.
So we see Estina kind of like pulling a blanket, kind of like the dust piles off of it as well, revealing like crates of these health potions, and she kind of reaches out and hands them to you. Briefly, there is a moment where your hands brush. She smiles shyly at you, kind of looking at you and then looking down. We see the stark contrast of like old bitter Guthrum to hopeful and optimistic Guthrum, um, almost mischievous.
It's exciting getting all of these right under the noses of them. They don't even know.
I know. I just worry you'll get caught. I would hate to see anything. I know how your family is.
Nah, no one knows.
You will
We're
be
much
safe.
too sly. Of course.
Um, we also see probably a younger Alistair also moving some of the weapons rather reluctantly. Alistair, what was something that kind of made you feel like something was off? That something wasn't right, or you had a bad vibe or feeling or something like that, what happened and you're like, fuck, like the stars are not aligning on this job?
I think that he likely developed a little bit of like a borderline paranoia for like danger, like incoming conflict, being on the front lines of the war and seeing ambushes and things of that nature. So there's like a stillness in the night, like the he's not necessarily like aware of his natural surroundings a lot, like the way like a ranger or druid would be. But I think there's just like a moment where he realizes that there's not any noise here. Like all of the frogs and the crickets and normal river creatures have grown quiet, and like the only sound that he can hear is like the moving of the water, kind of slowly through this large river.
You hand your supplies, these weapons. It's probably like a bundle of swords. Behind you, we see, wow, we see Clara taking the weapons from you. Beside you, we see, I think it was Gunner or Gideon. We see Gideon also with an armful of spears, handing them to Daraba, who places them in the boat. There is just this general uneasiness. Guthrum kind of able to bypass it, if only slightly. Sean, you're here as well, though not in the boat. You kind of occupy the more of a lookout stage, whether that's up in a tree or some sort of lookout spot.
Yeah. I'm thinking I'm hearing the clang of the metal of these weapons, and it takes my my attention away from what I'm supposed to be looking out for, because in my mind, that's not part of the deal. Weapons was not what we're part of. So I hear this metal and I immediately turn and I'm looking down at what's going on. And that's the moment when my guard is down and I don't notice what's about to
You
happen.
kind of look down, and it's out of the corner of your eye. You see, well, as you look down, rather, you see, Alistair. You see everybody. You see Alistair. You see Daraba. You see Selleck. You see Guthrum and Estina. But you also see a man, black hair, hard jawline, and eyes that remind you of a wolf. You've seen those eyes before. Predatory, like anything is prey, and he just waits for it to let its guard up. And he kind of oversees the project. It is Hallister Blackthorn.
Yeah,
He's been here for
Guthrum
the
will
last couple deals. Go ahead.
Guthrum looks, from Hallister back to Estina and is kind of looks a little sheepish and says, "Thanks for letting me, bring these other things besides just potions here. I know that you're uncomfortable with that, but trust me, it's better for all of us."
Clara kind of like sheepishly rubs her arm. Daraba is the one that speaks up. It's all for the cause. Let's just get it done. Hallister smiles. His smile is the kind of smile that would make your skin crawl. Not in like a creepy way, but like this person is a dagger, if anything less.
I didn't agree to this.
Sean, you look down and out of the corner of your eye, you see boats. You can recognize them even in the dark. These are Alfand's naval officers coming up the Ard.
I
Soldiers.
give out the predetermined animal call. That is our warning sign that people are coming.
Is that? Was it Sean?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, fuck. What do we do?
Shit.
It's repeated.
This is the only animal noise you can hear as the water kind of like laps up against the flora.
We have to go.
Yeah. What do we do though? All this cargo, we can't just abandon it. They'll know where Estina lives. We can't just do that.
You
We
know
have to
that
sink
this
it.
kind of like floodplain here is kind of saturated, and you can kind of maneuver your boat through the weeds, the tall weeds. It is dangerous. You could get stuck, but it is possible.
I say let's go.
Whatever's not already on the boat, we need to put it in the water. It'll sink. We can come back for it later.
Hallister puts his hand on your arm, Alistair. It all goes. Nothing is sunk. Get your ass in the boat and start pedaling or rowing. I'll cover for you.
Let's go.
Alistair looks for Daraba to make sure that she is in the boat before he pushes off.
And she is. She looks at you with like, everyone just kind of has like this like air of reluctance about them. Like nobody wants to do this thing, but everyone is just doing it. And she kind of looks at you, almost with despair. And you get in the boat, and the group of you push off into the reeds. Let me get an athletics check from Alistair and Guthrum.
17.
Athletics is a 12 plus 13 total.
Guthrum,
Hold on,
you
that was strength. Athletics is plus 3. Okay, so 15. Sorry.
Guthrum, you actually take like a pole and you just kind of push off the dock, and it kind of like pushes the boat up onto the reeds, and you kind of like get them to lay down, and you keep pushing. And it's not long before the reeds kind of start to recoil back up. And you guys are kind of pushed into the flooded kind of swampy area. You're kind of just making a barge out of your boat. And it is heavy, but with a 17 aided by Alistair's 15, you guys are able to push in. You can hear Hallister speaking. It's quiet at the distance, but you can hear him. You know my family owns these lands. You guys better shove off before something bad happens to you out here. It's dangerous, monsters and the like.
Strained to continue listening, but quietly maneuvering.
You see Mercy kind of alongside him. And as you guys kind of push into the grass, there is a moment where Selleck is in the wrong place at the wrong time. So just to catch you up, Svedna, we're reminiscing on the time when we almost got caught. We are in up a creek off the Ard River, meeting with Estina, the potion manufacturer that Guthrum goes through, collecting a load of potions as well as weapons. Alistair, Daraba, Gideon, Clara, and even Hallister are all here. And as there's kind of like a moment of contention about the weapons, Sean reveals that there are military boats coming up the river. They manage to push their boat into the reeds to kind of conceal themselves. But Selleck, how do I want to phrase this question? In this scenario, how is it that maybe that's not how I'll go about this. Selleck, how did you almost give everyone away?
So, question, was this, because I know you mentioned it was healing potions and weapons, was this like the first big pickup of both, or had we been...
I would say it's probably like the second.
Okay, so I think after the first, everyone would have started to notice that Selleck's not enthusiasm for this job, but his overall sort of demeanor towards what the group is doing has changed pretty significantly. I imagine maybe even a mirror to Sean's to a certain extent. Like he is much less. I don't think he was ever eager, but I think he's much less interested in the details and really getting involved. So I think in this situation, he always used to do this where he would just sort of like whatever he was doing at the moment, he would just stop, kind of brow furrowed, trying to wrestle with the morality of what the group is doing now that they've incorporated weapons into this in addition to the healing potions meant for the soldiers at the front. And I think he's just lost in thought, honestly. I think he's trying to figure out a way to exit from this situation without putting his recently settled family in danger, essentially. And so I think like maybe when, I don't know if it's like lanterns, hanging from poles, extending from the boats or whatever, but maybe the lantern light almost falls on him in this moment. And almost by instinct, hearing kind of the sounds of the boats coming down the river, sloshing through the water, he calls upon Vazikil's power and just disappears in a puff of crimson colored mist as he misty steps over to where the others are. And just kind of mutters under his breath, "Shit, I almost got caught. We need to move."
Roll insight.
Okay. Insight. I don't know if I'm adding anything to this. Doesn't really matter. It's a 2.
You may not have noticed, but Hallister eyed you like the prey a wolf stalks. Before he interacts with these guards. And it's I would say it's like a commander that you are all familiar with. Like this has been the guy that's been hot on your tail this whole time. It's like Commander Eckert has been just ruthlessly hounding the group, trying to figure out where these potions are going. I need to write down that name since I made it up on the fly.
Guard Captain Bingle Bongle.
Bing bong.
Bing bong.
And as the group kind of like slides into the water and skips off a little bit ways downstream and away from the boats, it's a close but narrow call, and you kind of hear the clank of weapons and the rocking of the boat. Still no animal noises. And that's when we find ourselves walking into the Rotwood itself in present day. That's actually where we're going to take our 15-minute break. So you can refill your drinks, use the restroom, get a snack, do your thing. And we will be back in roughly 15.
Sounds good.
And the song continues. We see the party, newly formed, walking into the woods, back the way Sean had came. Alistair, you're kind of fumbling what remains of the pouch that Mercy had given you, feeling a piece of paper, parchment, some sort of note within.
Yeah, he'll fish it out and try to ascertain what it's about.
It's a short note, clearly written in Mercy's hand. It reads, "Scouts have seen Gideon in the area."
Was Gideon? Did I think that
Rob's
Gideon was
brother.
dead?
No, he just had took off.
Okay, but I haven't seen him in a while. Okay. Yeah, he's gonna kind of read it once or twice over, shake his head. Damn. And he's gonna kind of fold it once and hand it to Guthrum. If you guys can read this.
I'm so sorry. I was briefly distracted. What language is this written in from Mercy?
It's written in common, probably a shorthand of some kind that you are all familiar with, at the very least.
Oh, okay.
It
Just
merely
because you're
says,
old.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Making sure
what
that
is
you
it?
can see it too, that you're not too drunk.
Ah. Yes. So it said that Gideon has been
Seen in the area. Yep.
seen in the area. Hmm.
Coincidence?
With all this here, things are rarely coincidence.
Alistair nods, kind of looking up at like whatever like heraldry or bannery like flies like on this temple, with like that sinking suspicion that maybe this is not merely a mortal affair.
The totemic visages outside the temple, you see the kind of nondescript totem of Anak, and almost ceremoniously a large raven lands atop it. It crows, echoing as you kind of leave the town proper and into the woods.
I think like he tosses the crumpled up note like into an open brazier, like as they're walking out away from the city proper.
It's probably more of like a cooking fire of some
Oh,
like
perfect. Yeah.
like a smoking fire, like some hunter is smoking various meats, and you kind of toss it, and he kind of looks at you, kind of like goes back to what he's doing. You begin walking into the woods, and it's not far in to the location that would have been colloquially known as the Bower of Ferns. It's that area where it's predominantly ferns, and then the far side is the willow overlooking the pond. You notice Aranthea kind of observing some of the stumps in this area. Kind of stands up and looks at the group of you. You leave and you come back with more, she kind of says to you, Sean.
He's not happy with any of this, so he doesn't really reply. He just brings Svedna over to her. I think at this point he's still probably dragging you by your arm, Svedna.
Probably.
Like,
That's
he
fair.
hasn't let go. And he just
And-
kind of pulls you over and kind of like, gives that last little few feet, just kind of throws you better.
Thanks, Sean. Are you all right? Also, hi, Aranthea. I'm sorry, I don't know many elves, so my pronunciation might be a little off.
She
This
holds
is-
her hand out in greeting.
This is Selleck's whelp.
Yes, I guess.
You must be Svetna. It is a pleasure to
I
meet
am.
you.
it's a pleasure to meet you too. And yeah, she'll hold her own hand out, and I kind of imagine instead of like making flesh to flesh contact, there's like a little, almost like a tendril of sort of like crystal that kind of just forms out of her palm and kind of like wraps around Aranthea's hand, kind of in this embrace, not sharp or jagged, but just like this very firm, kind of glass-like embrace before it retracts back into Svedna's flesh. I don't really know what's going on. There seems to be a lot of things happening, but Vazikil has shown me visions of you, and it's strange. He was showing my father similar visions he before he died, and we were trying to figure out why. It was flashes of the arcane crystal mines beneath Greenhaven, and they were tinged with fear, like some sort of terrible foe had emerged again. And anger. There's so much rage. I've never felt Vazikil so angry before. Admittedly, I've only been bonded with Vazikil for about a year since my father passed on. But can you help? I don't really know where else to go. I'm not very familiar with the Rotwood.
These words that you're speaking fall out of your mouth almost as if they were rehearsed, as if someone had said them before. And she kind of pulls her hand back after the interaction and kind of nods. What do you think of these stumps? Kind of pointing down to the remnants of trees. They don't seem cut. They seem chewed.
Oh. Could Svedna make some kind of check to see if she would have heard any stories or legends about creatures that could do this with Rotwood?
This is actually going to be an Arcana check, as
Excellent.
you feel Vazikil almost responding.
Well, that's a 10.
You don't know what it is. But there's almost like a hunger, a desire to consume these trees coming from Vazikil. Almost an allure.
Don't like take this the wrong way, because I don't want to offend you. You know, I'm not a particularly religious person myself. But anyway, there's this Vazikil felt hungry, drawn to these trees. I don't know what that means. Were they special trees, I assume? And she kind of like looks over to Sean like, help me, I don't know how to answer the question she's asking me.
You
More
know, Shonovan's
importantly, go ahead.
Shonovan's not looking at you, Svedna. He's actually looking and staring at Aranthea.
Tension.
This place is sacred, and it has been for a long time. Long before humans came to live in the river valley. We call it the Bower of Ferns, but in truth it is a lock of sorts. There is evil beneath the Rotwood, and it is locations like this that keep it at bay. Blackwood has been encroaching on sites like this for some time now, and I fear he knows not what he does. In fact, I know it to be true. If he continues, these locks will weaken, and I do not know what will be unleashed. Or even that comes long before me.
Do you know how many other sacred sites like this one exist in the forest?
No.
Ooh. That sounds pretty bad, honestly. Sounds really bad.
She kind of looks at you, Alistair.
Mm-hmm. He has kind of been trying to find the right moment to try to interject into this conversation. And when she finally looks at him, he will kind of step forward, almost like with his wrist kind of clasped in front of him. It's for a similar reason that we've come to speak with you, Rindia.
Go on. Say it.
The Blackthorn family is not planning on honoring their promise to you.
I'm not surprised.
And for whatever reason, they have asked that I try to talk you into changing your position.
And if I don't?
I'm certain that Lord Failharbor will only make bolder threats.
So Rake's involved too, then.
Are you really surprised?
No. He got his title from Blackthorn. It only makes sense that he's under his thumb. And all of us under the thumb of the king, the great Alfand, mighty conqueror. She rolls her eyes.
May or may not be connected, but Alistair, leans over to the side and spits on the ground.
She kind of stands, brushes off the loose leaves, kind of stuck to her vestments. So that's it.
Don't you even think I've given in?
Haven't you said enough?
Apparently not. You're still thinking that you're going to just let this man walk all over this grove, and the next, and the next, and the next. You said it yourself. These locks are important. If they fall...
What else is to be done about it, Shonovan? They want her
right back to
dead.
him? Well, that won't happen either.
It's not what I wanted to come to. But if that's the length that they're ready to carry things, then what do you think that we're going to be able to do to prevent it?
So we just give up, walk away.
No, but I'm asking for a solution, rather than for you to continually point your finger at the problem.
Well, I'm pointing my finger at the problem because apparently nobody else is seeing it. This man has to be stopped.
We all see it, Shonovan. Look around. We all see it.
Should have stopped him 20 years ago. And we didn't. And now, look. If we don't stand up to him and put him down in his place now, what's going to happen in 20 more years?
So you want to kill a king?
I'm not talking about the king. Blackthorn.
You don't think that the king's going to hire another
The king
logger to
probably
come in?
doesn't even know what's going on. This is all Blackthorn. You know it's Blackthorn. You've dealt with him before. He's probably singing a different tune to the king, and the king has not got a clue what's going on. That man is leagues away.
Blackthorn has
So,
lands and titles. Men at his disposal.
Lands and titles. Oh, that means a lot, isn't it? Right? Alistair, he doesn't care. He's walking all over lands and titles here.
Not all of us live in the woods, all right? We have to deal with the consequences of trying to murder people, especially prominent people.
well, so maybe instead of murdering someone, we could try to find one of these other sacred sites. And Aranthea, maybe you could, if you are in mortal danger, which is bad, I don't think you want to stay here if there are people that are going to try and kill you. Why not move to another sacred grove and protect that one? And we could, I'd be willing to help. And it sounds like Sean wants to help too. And we could protect that site instead, especially because this one, she'll kind of look at the stumps of the trees. It looks like this one has already been destroyed to a certain extent. Just my 2 copper. I don't really know what happened 20 years ago. I feel just a little bit out of my depth, but just that's what I was thinking about.
We defended against loggers?
Yeah.
And then when they
Many
send
of
soldiers?
these locks can fall before whatever it is that we're trying to contain can burst out.
You must understand, in the songs passed down through history, they don't express the quantity of logs that withhold the great evil below the land. They merely say it is what keeps him there. I don't know how much time we have left. But look around you. Owlbears roam the woods. Large predatory spiders make nests and capture travelers. Goblins, in unheard of numbers. Hill giants roaming the plains to the south. There is an evil stirring. The miasma that stayed within the Rotwood is spreading. I know. I know I'm not doing much to stop it, but I'm doing what I can. Where are the logs that this tree... Look around you. There is no signs that they dragged any lumber from this yard. But here we have a dozen, maybe more, stumps that look eaten, not cut.
Can we investigate these logs more?
Sure.
Go an investigation.
Investigation or nature? I'll even allow survival.
Well, I rolled a 15. My investigation is -1. My survival is +2.
I would give you the +2.
Sweet, 17.
So what are you looking for?
So I guess for survival, you said that these look eaten, but also that there's no tracks of the trees. So I want to see, like, is there any tracks of anything? What's the disturbance around the trees like?
This area is fairly packed earth, like around these ferns, and the trees themselves that would have been eaten are kind of like circumventing this grove. With a 17, there's just kind of like a smattering of, I would say, like deer tracks, rabbit tracks, various woodland critters kind of like coming and going through the grove. But you also notice humanoid boots.
There's some tracks. Other people have been here.
Other people aside from the loggers.
These aren't logged. They were eaten by some sort of creature. Look, this is not axe marks.
You said
Maybe
eaten.
the people were leading some kind of animal or monster? Maybe?
What in the nine hells could eat trees?
Mm.
Svedna, you feel
Beavers.
an odd.
Beavers.
Giant beavers.
Oh, dire beavers! Go ahead, Baron. Sorry.
It's almost like the hairs on the back of your neck, but it's on your arm, where
Hmm.
Vazakill would usually manifest. In response to what monsters would eat this.
I think she's gonna kind of try to dive into that feeling a little more. I think she's feeling a lot of kind of conflicting emotions about like how these people kind of know her father, since I imagine her father told her about Sean, but not so much about Alistair and Guthrum. Um, and kind of the fact that although she came here to sort of walk in her father's footsteps, it's turning into something a little different. There's a lot of tensions amongst this group and in the greater community. But yeah, I think she'll try to focus on that feeling from Vazakill to see if she can conjure any image or anything besides that prickling sensation.
Give me another insight check.
Come on, big money. Nope. 6.
It's overwhelming actually, and you fear that if you would pursue those feelings, that it might overtake you, which isn't something that you've necessarily experienced yet. Like it's always been kind of like a co-dependent relationship.
Yeah, like a symbiotic thing.
And you definitely are the predominant foot, and it's almost like a wave that hits you initially, and you're like, "Oh, that is a whole ocean of something."
Yeah, I think she tries to hide it a little bit, but like maybe it there's like a flexing of wings, or she kind of like leans against a tree a little more heavily than necessary. And her face goes a little pale, but then she'll
I would say there's like even so far as like preventing yourself from retching.
yeah, she'll kind of like clear her throat awkwardly and then try to regain some small measure of composure. So maybe some sorts of tamed monster then. Mm-hmm.
What do we do here? If we don't do something, apparently disaster will strike. But killing a nobleman, surely you can see the folly in that. There will just be another one that sweeps in right behind him to take his place.
Talk to him. Make him see reason.
Reason?
Maybe he knows about the monster, the tree-eating monster.
I suppose we can try speaking to him.
Nobles are just people, Alistair. You just have to make sure you do the bowing and the scraping and whatever. But, you shouldn't be afraid of them. It'll be fine.
You've never met Halliston Blackthorn.
I haven't. I recall my father was not particularly fond of him. I don't know why, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Maybe you can do the talking then.
Absolutely. I would love to.
While this is taking place, Aranthea is kind of maneuvering about the grove, and a gray squirrel emerges from the tree line and approaches. Aranthea kind of kneels down. There is an exchange, and she deposits the squirrel back on the ground, and it flees. She stands and looks to you all. There is a grove not far from here. We refer to it as the Nocturnal Grove. This is a site that cannot be compromised, and from my understanding, loggers are on their way right now. Please, can we go?
I think at the mention that just as the words like the nocturnal grove is coming out of her mouth, and loggers are on the way. Shonavin is already starting in motion, striding towards her and getting ready to head out.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, Alistair's
You elves have a talent for naming things. The Nocturnal Grove. I like that name. Sorry, continue.
not. Alistair is not pleased about where this is already headed. But he'll turn and follow.
Similar to Guthrum, yeah, not very pleased, but will reluctantly follow.
You go ahead.
So as Shonavin gets closer to Aranthea, he kind of says gently, "Aranthea, why did you keep this hidden from me?" As he's mentioning like the other trees, like the eaten ones.
She kind of like uses two of her fingers in the palm of your hand to kind of like pull your hand closer and grasp it, and she grasps it tight. You feel like a cold sweat clamminess to her hand. Shonavin, no matter what happens, we have to keep whatever it is down there locked away.
He just looks down at her, feeling the grip she's got on his hand. He's afraid already. He's afraid for this woman that's standing in front of him. We will fight this. We will keep it contained.
She lets go of your hand and begins to walk into the woods. There's like a slight deer trail of sorts, a hunting trail, that leads further into the Rotwood. And I assume you guys follow. The trail winds through kind of like hilly forested areas. Sean, you have traversed these woods plenty of times, and you know creatures both natural and unnatural have been known to lurk here. As you move through the trees, I imagine you may be taking up the rear or somewhere in the middle. You are aware of something small, numerous, just out of sight beyond the trees. Like the trees are close here, but it's like they're far enough into the growth that you can't see them, but you hear them. You're aware of them. Your senses kind of larger than the usual sphere of perception. This trail that you walk on goes northwest, further into like a more rugged region of the Rotwood. The sun finding it harder to reach the ground, and it's already into the point of the year where the days are starting to get shorter and shorter. So it's only a matter of time before the light disappears altogether. But the grove itself is not far away, and with Aranthea's guidance as well as Sean's attunement to the trees and forest about you, you make good time. You are not far from the grove when you see a large group of loggers. They're all fairly identifiable, kind of all wearing the tunics, like wool tunics and thick trousers that are given to workers to protect them out here. They are going about clearing part of the area. Aranthea would kind of like stop. The limit of what we agreed was supposed to be about X amount of distance that way. They've completely broached the contract.
Is she saying that to us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we were here to tell you was gonna happen anyway. But listen, I'll try to handle this. Can I approach them and say, "Hey, listen here, fellas. Listen, stop. Halt work. We've got orders from Blackthorn himself. These trees right here, not good enough quality for production. We're gonna have to move it back to the other grove over there on the other side of the pond."
Almost emerging from behind a large tree, a birch tree, we see the rolled up sleeves and the kind of slicked back black hair and the eyes of the wolf, Hallister Blackthorn. Guthrum, you weren't scheduled for today. What was I saying?
Mr. Blackthorn, sir, you see, just a friendly prank like to try to play on these guys, competing shifts. We like to come out here and give each other, kind of some ribbing and see if we can get each other's production numbers down, No, just friendly pranks.
I forget the Gladhammer clan is known for pranks. Your father would get a laugh from it, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Point taken, sir.
Is there any particular reason you're here? Guthrum, you can see him. He's in better dress than most people here, but he's sweaty and like his hands are dirty, and there seems to be some sort of crystalline structure receding up his left sleeve.
Hmm. Um, well, come to think of it, sir, is there any particular reason you're here? You don't usually come out here with the rest of the crew getting your hands dirty. That's something I haven't seen in quite some time.
Are you questioning my abilities as a leader?
No, I think that your time is much too important to be spent toiling out here in the woods. Aren't you better served back at the mill headquarters?
In my experience in the military, I always thought that commanders that led from the front of the charge were the ones that commanded the most respect. Wouldn't you agree, Alistair? He's is calling you out of your.
Alistair will again kind of come forward. With all due respect, sir, according to Aranthea, these trees are not part of the original agreement. She didn't give permission for these trees to be felled. So maybe we should move things back to the other side of the pond. Keep the peace. Nothing else.
The peace. That's rich.
Not for those of us who have seen war, sir.
Oh, I've seen war.
Oh, then not for those of us who have failed to forget.
You speak of permissions. The king needs no permission for trees of his own land. His is his right to rule is divine.
Has he given you a writ or anything that shows that this is his decision and not your own?
It's not something I would carry on me, Alistair. You would be mindful to watch what you say.
Why these trees? Why are the trees of this place so important to you?
I care not for the specificity of the tree. They are all to be felled.
All of the Rotwood.
Our country is expanding, Alistair. We need room.
We can't take care of and feed the people that we already have.
You just fell all the trees? What then will you do? You'll still need lumber. You can't fell them all.
That'll be long after I am gone, I am sure.
Then aim your targets somewhere else. Leave these groves be.
You once again notice like a stirring underneath his tunic. I think I will decide. And I've decided that these are the ones we will choose.
I think Sven will kind of like sidle out from around the others and just say, "Hi, I don't mean to interrupt, but
Oh,
so
gosh.
maybe not those trees specifically. Could you maybe just leave those trees alone and log around them? So listen, this is going to sound a little crazy, but I believe it. These trees are keeping some sort of terrible monster or evil under the ground. So maybe don't touch those trees. Otherwise, the kingdom won't necessarily be expanding. It'll be embroiled in I don't know, a conflict with a horrible beast. So, maybe just leave those trees alone. I'm Svedna, by the way. Nice to meet you. Heard a lot about you.
He inhales deeply. You're here.
Yes. So are you.
It has been some time since I've seen you. He's not even speaking to you.
Yeah, I think Svedna's kind of like looking at the others like, what the fuck is he talking about? I've never met this person before.
I knew from the moment that I saw you last that that was the next step for me.
What do you mean?
Your companion. Show it to me.
Sure. And she'll I think what she'll actually do is she will kind of focus and have like almost like these crystalline tendrils kind of growing across this armor that she's wearing, forming like this protective barrier around her body of this sort of blood red shining crystal. This is Vazakil. He's from here, or they are from here, I should say.
Oh, I know.
How do you know that? Did you know my
I
father?
knew your father.
I feel like I'm running into so many people today that know my father. It's great. A tiefling hero. It's not something you hear about all the time. It's wonderful.
It's not coincidence you find yourself here, girl. You were brought here within purpose.
Well, right. I came here to figure some things out. Sure. Yeah.
Your thoughts are not your own.
Wait, what do you mean?
You are manipulated, controlled.
By
The creature that gives you power.
I don't know about that. What makes you say that? How do you wait? How do you even what gives you any kind of reason to say that? That doesn't make any sense.
He kind of begins to unbutton his tunic and draws the side of it off of his left arm, revealing a similar crimson,
Oh,
almost cloudy and rust-colored symbiote, similar to what you have seen.
huh. I've never seen another one. This is great. So you should understand that, obviously you're not controlled by that thing, are you? Are you?
My will is strong. I do not listen to what it has to say. I use it as a tool. And it is like beginning to like grow down his arm.
Right. So Vazakil seems concerned about these trees being destroyed. So why isn't your crystal concerned about this?
Like I said, it listens to me.
It's supposed to be like a partnership, you give it new experiences and
My child.
so I think she's like, you could see like the cogs are turning and she's trying to figure this all out. She did not expect him to have one of these entities attached to his form, but then she just says, so you are just cutting down trees even though it could put your people at risk, just because you want to expand your kingdom? That seems incredibly foolhardy.
He kind of disengages from you and walks over to one of these grove trees. It is a large maple, and his arm, now fully encased in this gemstone, kind of like begins to crush into the side of
Well,
the wood pole.
don't do that.
And within there is recognizable like emerald, almost like crystal veins within this tree. It's not a lot, but it's enough. And like as his arm comes in contact to it, it's like the symbiote begins to expand over top of it, remove it, and like the tree around it begins to like desiccate and fall. And it almost like turns to ash as this creature is absorbing whatever this crystal entity or this crystalline stuff in the tree. What's left is like a chewed stump and this kind of like desiccated upper portion of the tree begins to like blow away.
Huh.
The creature responds on his arm by kind of like undulating and growing, where it was once like on his chest, and most of his torso begins to spread to his other arm.
This is nothing
to questions.
This has nothing to do with cutting down timber for the king. He's not seeing a single one of these.
He's eating them himself.
What is this about?
Is Fredna trying to eat them too?
No, obviously not. In fact, and I think unless someone is planning to do something, I think she will, in a manner very similar to what Selleck did in that glimpse we had of the past, I think she will disappear in a puff of red mist, and she will, depending on the distance, she will appear kind of wings spread in front of the remaining trees between Halaser and the trees. Not attacking him, but just sort of like placing herself between them and as many of the between him and as many of the remaining trees as possible.
You feel like the thickness in the air as there's almost like a miasma now, like a light fog with a purple tinge to it. The loggers notice it for sure. Halaser kind of smiles. We have guests. More the merrier, I guess. He kind of like looks in the direction across from you, and two individuals begin to emerge from the trees. And you can hear Sean, that same kind of like chittering of small somethings kind of like circling around the grove where you are at. You stand there for a moment, the suspense kind of lingering, and emerging from the mist is an elderly orc, half-orc man. He is bedraggled. He looks feral for all terms of, wow, I'm losing the ability to speak. All intents and purposes. And beside him, a dwarf, equally ragged, hair thick, eyes kind of beady and hidden behind thick eyebrows.
I told you we'd find them together. And look at that. They're both right here. Alistair, you came through with your word. So the deal's still fair. It's been a long time, Alistair.
Get in. I'm assuming.
It is.
Yeah.
But I found a friend. Isn't that right, Broderick?
The man doesn't say anything. His two beady black eyes, like coals beneath his eyebrows, just glaring at you, Guthrum.
We should probably get out of here.
What about the trees?
Leave it for the Lorax.
The fuck is a Lorax?
Alistair is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place here, because like he is literally dressed in his vestments. He does not have his mace and his armor and his shield with him. So this coming to violence, even though he was afraid that that's probably what was going to happen, this is a different level of, like, if Gideon is back, the kind of bloodlust that he's probably got is not going to be easily sated. So he is reeling, trying to find a way to hopefully bring this to a non-violent resolution. So he's kind of got his hands out, and he says, "This has already been a very stressful day for a lot of us. Maybe we should return to Fernwood and have a pint. Talk it over. Come to an understanding with one another."
Yeah, that's right. Have a pint. Roderick.
Shonavin, you see Hallister kind of like backing away.
I'm bristling. I am bristling so bad. I am standing by Arenthia. At this moment, all I can think about is protecting her in this. Besides the fact that I just want to end Hallister right now because of what he's just done. But now with the two new people that's come in, things change. Shonavin looks like to Hallister and then to this man who just addressed him, and here's the word Gideon, and he's like, "Gideon? Is that you? It's been so long." And I will stride towards him, friendly wise.
He stands there. And as you get closer, you can feel the hatred in his glance.
I have no love for you, Shonovan.
But why? What has happened?
You've sided with the weak.
The Druids? You call them weak?
I knew a long time ago that this was all going to collapse.
A long time ago, you were on our side.
And then I seen the truth.
The truth. Come, man. This is not you.
I have seen what the Rotwood would show me.
And what does it show you?
The lot of you dead at my feet.
Kitten. This isn't what the robber would have wanted for you.
How
Don't you
can you
understand
say?
that?
It is your fault she is gone.
You can see that, like, that knocks him down, like, to his knees on his soul. Physically, he keeps his legs under him, but it completely arrests anything that he was about to say.
What do you mean? It has nothing to do with Alistair. It's everything to do with the war that your people were fighting. If you need to blame someone, blame them kings. They don't care about you or the people. It's not the Rotwood. It's not the Druids.
It was the stupid schemes that you all plotted that got her killed and taken from me. You're selfish. All you have is your pride. Isn't that right, Guthrum?
It's like Shonovan said, it's the king's fault. Where everyone's under someone else's thumb. We have no choice. Either
believe
pay or be consumed.
You had
She's
a
collateral
choice.
damage.
You had a choice when you decided to give your curse to your cousin.
That wasn't my fault either.
You see that there's probably like some sort of like log or stick or something in front of Broderick that he kind of like picks up and just like smashes. A flare of like bestial tones emerging on him.
That wasn't my fault. It was her, Aranthea. Get her.
Bite your tongue.
I tried to do what I could for Broderick. I had no way of knowing what was going to happen.
And yet he suffers. And you all sit in your little houses of cards and sticks until someone comes along and blows them all over. I serve someone stronger now.
You serve a man who has every bit the guilt that you believe Alistair has for your sister's death. Do you not know whose scheme it was?
It doesn't matter.
Well, then why are you mad at Alistair if it does not matter? Apparently
I'm not mad
it does.
at Alistair. I'm here to aid him. These trees must come down.
Well, no, they really shouldn't. They're keeping like an evil underground or something. I'm Svedna, by the way. Who are all these people?
You must be Selik's daughter.
I
can
am.
smell it on you.
Why does everyone keep saying that? I smell it on you. I knew it was you. Like, do I smell it? Do I smell? Maybe we could just talk, like Alistair was saying. You know,
You
go
got
get
his walk too. True.
What? I've never even heard that before. That sounds ridiculous. Maybe we could just talk about this, you know? It sounds like you all just need to sit down and talk to each other. There's a lot of anger and tension.
We started off doing good. That was the whole point. Alistair turned it into something else. Corrupted it. And now look, his corruption is growing on the outside of him. He wears it like armor, carries it like a weapon. And now you're doing the same thing, Gideon. Lay your weapons down. We were brothers once. You saved my life. And he pulls the red crystal out from beneath his vestments to show the parapt of health that he wears, keeping this crippling disease at bay. You taught me everything I know. And now you've turned your back on it. For him?
No. For the Dark Lord Scorn.
Gideon.
And at the mention of the name Skarn, Broderick begins to writhe. His skin ripples and begins to tear. His snout elongates and claws emerge from where his fingers once stood. Everybody roll initiative.
Oh boy. Do you want us to put it in the chat, Baron?
Yeah. Alistair, what did you get?
3.
Perfect.
Wow, I feel slightly better now.
Yeah. Them knees. Sucks when you're old.
As the creature emerges from the skin shell that was Broderick, we also see Gideon bellow in rage. And as they charge, that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
I knew it.
Skin shell.
Wow.
The crunch of fallen leaves and foliage under claw and foot. The loggers begin to kind of disperse as Halaser is no longer here. The 5 of you, the 4 of you, Arantea included, find yourselves engaged with an enemy from your past. Svedna, thrust into a fate maybe that wasn't always once her own, where sometimes the effects of our lineage can be more complex than just genetics. We find ourselves beside the tavern, the man with the worn leather coat kind of tapping out the tobacco and hash on his boot, and kind of looking out at the woods at dusk. We see kind of what we see here in the background of the overlay. The sun dipping down behind the trees. He looks out, one eye closed, the other kind of glaring. He spits. He looks at the coin in his herald's box, deposited by Svedna, puts it in his pocket after rolling it around in his palm. And he puts the case within his leather coat. He walks inside and he whistles a familiar tune, a song of the Ards. There you have it. Episode 1, The Loggers of Fernwood.
Bravo.
Nice.
That was
thanks,
a
Baron.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It was a great first episode.
Is it the 14th yet?
Man.
Well, you'll have
It's
to wait
actually
until the
the
21st.
Yeah, the 21st.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The 21st. That's right.
Mm.
Got my dates messed up.
Even worse.
Ugh. Terrible.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody,
Thank
for
you, Baron.
participating. I
thanks,
am
Baron.
very excited.
Oof.
I feel like we did a good job giving like the slight illumination into like our session 0 information without being like, and so this happened 20 years ago, followed by this happening. And I'm kind of digging the idea of periodic flashbacks. So Svedna, I hope you're comfortable portraying Selleck from time to time.
Unacceptable.
I just feel like it's very on par with the story we're telling. So
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. I'm stoked with how deep we already are into the weeds of what we came up with. How much of it we've already managed to bring up and incorporate into what's going on. It's yeah, it's really exciting.
it's a
My character
solid
is fucked in
foundation.
this fight. But I'm here
Yeah,
for it.
you are.
I'm here for it. I'm excited for that.
But with that, our chorus comes to a close. I was Baron, still am, probably will be tomorrow. My players, if you'd like to say anything in closing. Jason, you can start us off if you got anything.
Sure, I don't have anything to plug, but thank you again, Baron, and thank you so much to my fellow players. This was a crazy first session. Like, I get we only have 3 sessions. This is only a trilogy, but man, so much good stuff right off the bat. So it just goes to show what an incredible session 0 can do for a game. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to next time, and I'll pass it on to Karen.
Yeah, I have to second that that statement about the session 0, because it gave us enough fodder that we could just jump into this one straight, like at full speed already, without having to worry about who we are, how we fit with each other. It's just like, we know, let's go. Can't stress that enough, that was so very key. That having that session 0 and being able to talk it all out first was makes this so much easier, so much I guess more fluid. And I absolutely love the story so far, what we've done, the tension amongst everyone, to be honest, and Svedna being the little light in the darkness.
I have no idea what's going on until the
Love
next
it.
episode.
Love it. So good. I cannot wait for the next episode. So thank you. Pass it on to Phil.
Yeah. This is a bunch of fun. Thanks, Baron. Thanks, everyone. I can't wait for the next one. Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you all very, very much for coming on to this show and hanging here on the channel. Baron, thank you very much for putting this game together. It was an absolute blast. Again, like I was saying, it's amazing to see how much history and life that this game already has to it. It usually takes a little while when a campaign is starting to kind of find its rhythm and its stride. But I feel like even though I had an inkling of who Alistair was and like what he had kind of gone through before I started playing, I didn't really have a solid idea of who he was and what his motivations were when I sat down to play him. And I always try to leave a little bit of room for organic growth. But I found that immediately, and I am very, very much looking forward to seeing how this is all going to play out. I feel very invested in the story already, which is a testament to you running the game as a DM. So thank you for being a stellar DM as well as a player. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this goes and to be a part of this. So thank you for having me around. Okay. Everybody, thank you so much for anyone who may have come along and watched the first episode of this campaign. In 2 weeks, we'll be back with session 2, and then 2 weeks after that will be the finale. So make sure to tune back in and see how this story progresses. As far as this week, if you are watching live with us, then that means Tuesday night will be session 3 of Thunder Ridge, a Western D&D game. It takes place here on the channel. Be sure to stop by and check that out. And then this Friday, I have another Help Action episode that will be going out onto the airwaves on Friday night here on the channel. So be sure to come back for that too. Do all the stuff that YouTube likes to see. Hit the like button, subscribe, all of that kind of stuff. If you enjoyed the content that you watched this evening, there's a lot more on the channel for you to check out. So please take a look around, see what you like. If you enjoy it, share it around, talk about it. You can find links for all kinds of stuff in the description of this video. And yeah, I think that's all the business end that we're going to go with for this evening. So until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.